Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. These are the headlines.
Palestinian children in the greatest need of urgent medical care could be brought to Northern Ireland for treatment.
I think anybody watching the ongoing humanitarian crisis, the genocide in Gaza, will want our medical professional here in the north to play a part, doing whatever it can to help the sick, injured children of Gaza.
There's fury after an historic siege of Derry flag is stolen from a cathedral and burnt on a bonfire in the Bogside.
And as attacks on 5G phone masts intensify in Belfast, there are fresh calls for them to stop.
Also tonight. They're feeling supersonic. We meet the Oasis mad family buzzing after the band's Croke Park cracker.
And we have plenty of fine and dry weather on the way this week. I'll have all of the details later with the forecast.
Palestinian children who are in need of urgent medical care could travel to Northern Ireland for treatment. The First and Deputy First Ministers have agreed that the Department of Health here will take part in a UK-wide initiative to help sick and injured children from Gaza.
Meanwhile, a letter from the leader of the SDLP and some other political parties calling for the Prime Minister to recall Parliament over the situation in Gaza has been branded as a stunt by the TUV MP Jim Allister. Our political correspondent Vicky Hawthorne reports.
Children in Gaza, their lives, their injuries, their deaths. The harsh reality of the war which governments around the world can't ignore. Plans are underway for up to 50 Palestinian children to be brought to the UK for medical treatment. It's thought 2 children could travel to Belfast for hospital care after the First and Deputy First Ministers approved the Department of Health here joining the UK-wide scheme.
I welcome the fact that the Executive are going to play their part in this scheme to help injured and sick children from Gaza. I think that's only appropriate. I think anybody watching the ongoing humanitarian crisis, the genocide in Gaza, will want our medical professional here in the north to play a part, doing whatever it can to help the sick, injured children of Gaza.
It's not known when any children could make the trip for treatment, but if and when they do, they will be accompanied by a guardian. The Westminster government will be responsible for vetting any children and their relatives who make the journey here. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is facing a demand to recall Parliament and to impose immediate sanctions on Israel. In a letter, the leaders of the SDLP, as well as Sinn Féin, the Alliance and others in Scotland and Wales, want Sir Keir Starmer to act to save lives in Gaza.
I think this is bigger than political spats here and people trying to score points or sectarianise this issue. I think this is about, as I say, many people wanting their elected representatives to act on one of the most profound moral issues of our time. And as I say, we think the UK government have telegraphed actions that they might take at some future point, and we think that point is now.
The message to the Prime Minister is not being viewed as credible by others.
I think largely it's a political stunt. The signatories of that letter know that with Parliament returning this day 2 weeks, it's not going to be recalled now for this purpose. Calling for a recall for Parliament, but some of them wouldn't even attend. You know, that reeks of hypocrisy, not of anything serious. The situation in Gaza is serious, and it needs to be addressed at a serious level, not through stunts and virtue signalling letters such as this.
Whether Parliament returns now or in 2 weeks' time as scheduled, the war in the Middle East and how to bring it to an end is certain to dominate debate. Vicky Hawthorne, UTV Live.
There's been widespread condemnation after an historic flag belonging to a church in Londonderry is believed to have been burnt on a bonfire on Friday evening.
The Crimson flag, which flies twice a year to commemorate the siege of Derry, was stolen from St Colum's Church in the lead up to the annual bonfire in the Meanan Square area of the Bogside. Jordan Moore reports.
Fireworks reach for the sky to mark the burning of a bonfire that has heightened tensions in this city. Union flags and other items were burnt on the pyre in the Meanan Square area of Londonderry on Friday evening. But the destruction of one item in particular has fuelled fury.
Well, there's been a lot of anger. Obviously, the burning of the crimson flag, which was stolen from St Columb's Cathedral, has caused a lot of anger and hurt. And it's the same for all flags and emblems, regardless of bonfire. There's no place for the burning of these emblems. It's wrong. It incites hatred, and I think that we need to move away from that type of activity. A lot of anger, a lot of upset, and I think that this really has been a race to the bottom over this past number of weeks.
The crimson flag, a replica of one flown to mark the siege of Derry in 1689, was stolen from St Columb's Cathedral in the run-up to the bonfire. It had flown twice a year to mark events related to the siege, but it's now feared it was last flown from burning pallets. Gary Donnelly is an independent councillor in the area and tried his best to retrieve the flag.
I do believe there's a historical significance of this, and I don't believe we should be burning historical artefacts, even if we don't have that much respect or agree with the thinking behind it. I don't have much time for bonfires. I think they can be toxic in many ways, politically and to the environment. But I think it's a message being sent. There's a huge disconnect from young people, and not only young people, there's middle class people now. The system is failing them. I hope that there won't be any more bonfires.
In the Craigan, a bonfire was also lit. It stoked tensions last week when the names of a serving police officer alongside DCI John Caldwell and a Sinn Féin MLA appeared on it. Poppy wreaths were also burned. While the weekend before last, there was condemnation after Palestinian flags and tricolours were placed on a bonfire in the Unionist Fountain Estate in the city.
What we have to do away with is the burning of flags and emblems. The bonfires themselves, we need to work with local communities to ensure that where they have bonfires, that they're held safely. They're done so in a way that is respectful of all communities, but also celebrating that particular culture as well.
A piece of this city's history was likely lost on Friday, and while the bonfire responsible for the loss of that history is also gone, debate and conversation around it will likely simmer on for days to come. Jordan Moore, UTV Live, Derry.
Another 5G mobile phone mast was set on fire over the weekend in West Belfast, leading to further calls for those behind the attacks to stop, with the cost of the repeated attacks now well into the millions of pounds.
There are concerns that the signal problems which are caused from taking the masts out of operation could hamper people who are trying to contact emergency services and who may have no signal on their phones. Jordan Moats has this report.
Like a beacon in the sky, this has become an all too familiar sight. But once the fire is out, reality sets in. The 5G masts are destroyed, leaving communities without coverage, and that comes with a massive cost.
It's fueled by dangerous conspiracy theories online. It seems to be a certain number of individuals in West Belfast who are operating against their own community. Well, if you actually look at it, probably these masts cost between £200,000 to £300,000 to install, so it's millions of pounds worth of damage over the series of months. Once they're damaged, they have to look at the foundations, have to look at the wiring. It could take years for some of these masts to actually be back up and running.
The PSNI has previously said they're taking the attacks seriously and have appealed for anyone with information to come forward. It's fair to say these attacks are having their desired effect. Tech, this mast, for example, it was set on fire over the weekend. You can see the damage inside. The cables are completely burnt and it's now completely out of operation, leaving this area with less signal than it once had. Those behind these attacks may say they've been successful. The community, however, disagree. While the emergency service network itself may not be impacted, there are concerns vulnerable people with no signal on their phones as a result of these attacks are struggling to call for help.
My own home, I'm having to walk outside the house just to make contact. We run one of the biggest food banks here in the city, and we're noticing that people are unable to pick up the phone and phone us for help and phone us for support. We're having to kind of adapt and readjust what we're doing, and we're having to do call-outs. We're getting volunteers to go out and knock on doors to make sure people are okay. We've had over 20 attacks, and we've had 3 just last week. But again, it's happening in busy roads, it's happening in built-up areas, it's happening during the day, it's happening in the evening times. We need to see arrests. We need to have eyes on this.
These towering infernos have become like a series of burnt-out matchsticks. It's hard to work out where those behind the fires will target next, but they have marked other masts across Belfast, a clear sign this is far from a series of random attacks. Jordan Moats, UTV Live.
Two Chinese nationals living in Manchester have been jailed for smuggling cannabis worth £9 million from the city to Northern Ireland, hidden in wooden flooring. Yudong Ouyang, who's 32, was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months in prison. Gary Hon, who's 26, was jailed for 3 years and 1 month. The National Crime Agency found there were up to 38 deliveries made by the group from Manchester to Belfast in a 9-month period.
In just 1 week's time, the Lamos Fair will be back in Ballycastle, bringing a bit of an extra buzz to the North Antrim seaside town.
However, the annual event is facing changes this year, with part of the town closed off, along with a smaller number of licensed stall holders in the town centre. Peter Moore reports.
At the old Lamos Fair in Ballycastle long ago.
A Ballycastle institution, around 400 years old and still going strong. This year may look a little different.
And this is where the heart of the Lamos Fair really is.
Oh, totally. But obviously this year it will be disrupted.
The Antrim Arms Hotel stands derelict and unstable in the Diamond in the middle of the town. Planning permission to knock down the listed building was recently refused. And with the Lamos Fair just days away, the council has put in shipping containers to protect fairgoers. But visitor numbers are still set to be high.
On a daily basis, apparently it's between 70 and 80,000, and they come from all parts of Ireland and Scotland. So it's a real social event.
Come next week and this main street will be packed full of people. In fact, it'll be difficult to even walk up and down the street. However, there will be less street traders in the town centre this year. Last year, 142 licences were issued. However, this year, there's just 109. But locals very much insist that the fair will be as big and as busy as ever.
It is one of the main economic drivers that all the businesses in Ballycastle, from the seafront right up to Castle Street, look forward to put some money in the bank to see you through the lean months.
Local shop owner Aidan says retail habits are changing beyond the dulse and the yellow man.
It's a very challenging environment. People look at the Lamos Fair and think, oh, I remember this and remember that. But those stall owners they're not there anymore. Everything you can buy in a stall used to be a very special time at the Lamos Fair for different things, but those things are all available online now.
And there's more changes aside from the stalls. This year's fun fair is a smaller affair, with the council site being shut whilst a new leisure centre is being built. And there was annoyance after the fair's line dancers in the town were moved from their normal site on the seafront.
Over the years, additional legislation has made things just that little bit more difficult, and although we like to be nostalgic and look back in yesteryear, we do have to move with the times, and road closure orders, health and safety, all of these issues, but yet trying to ensure that the Lamos Fair still has that relaxed ethos. You're going to see thousands of people from the top end of Ballycastle right to the seafront throughout the days of the Lamos Fair.
A fixture of history on the North Coast, hoping to be a draw for years to come. Peter Moore, UTV Live, Ballycastle.
OK, time now to take a look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, President Zelensky and European leaders meet Donald Trump for the next stage of peace talks. Here, a warning that the hot weather is pushing up the price of fruit and vegetables. And Downton Abbey bids a fond farewell with its final chapter by offering the chance to own a piece of TV history. Well, join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
2 years ago, Matthew Hockey was homeless, battling an alcohol addiction and learning to walk again after a serious road traffic collision.
Well, yesterday he did an ultimate marathon from Belfast City Hall to Cúnmara in Newry, a centre which helped him to turn his life around and continues to help those battling addiction. Daniel Duffy reports.
Mission complete. From Belfast City Hall to Newry, 10 grueling hours. Yesterday, Matthew Hockey completed a 45-mile ultra-marathon. Almost 2 years to the day, Matthew made the journey to the same destination as he presented himself to the Cúnmara Rehabilitation Centre. Homeless, battling an alcohol addiction and learning to walk again following a road traffic accident.
I sort of felt compelled to do this challenge when I was still living in a hostel. I had not long come out of treatment and I knew that I needed to do something absolutely crazy to light a spark on my journey of recovery. And I really did pick a day for it with the heat yesterday. It did take a bit longer than I expected, and I really hope that I've inspired the gents and also the women who are in treatment to on their journey of recovery, and to keep them inspired to keep going.
With help from the charity, Matthew has turned his life around. He now has his own home, a job, and has recently qualified as a personal trainer, and he owes it all to the work of the Newry-based facility.
I am so proud to say that I now have my own home, I have a career, and I have a second chance at life again. And I am hoping to repay through the funds that have been raised through this run, that will pay for someone to come here for free. And hopefully that can save a life. To say the least, it saved my life.
Cian helps hundreds of people battling addiction every year, and they're incredibly proud of Matthew transforming his life.
Matthew gives hope to everybody. So everybody, no matter how bad the circumstances are, there is still hope if you are prepared to do the work to get there. It's that simple, but not easy.
He raised thousands of pounds along the way, but now it's time for a well-earned rest for Matthew. Daniel Duffy, UTV Live in Newry.
Matthew Haughey, what an inspiration. Time now for sport.
And Ruth has all the action.
The atmosphere is electric. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening. Rory McIlroy called his golf awful for the first few holes yesterday. He made a disappointing start to his FedEx Cup playoff campaign at the BMW Championship, finishing the tournament in Maryland in a tie for 12th on 3 under par. That was 12 shots behind eventual winner Scotty Scheffler.
The game was awful for the first 6 holes, and then actually felt like I found something, especially on the back 9 there. So definitely something to build off going into next week. But yeah, it was, this week was, my 3 weeks off. I really didn't do anything in those 3 weeks. So I was probably expecting too much to be, to get in contention.
Staying with golf, and while going back to school season is almost upon us, 2 young ladies from here are heading across the Atlantic to study while pursuing their dreams. I caught up with Molly O'Hara and Rebecca Gardner while they were home for the summer.
Have you enjoyed being home? Yeah, I've really loved being home. It's nice to be back to the colder weather. And
Molly O'Hara and Rebecca Gardner grew up playing golf together. From representing Ulster and Clandyboy to Irish level, the sport has been a huge part of their lives, so much so that they both headed to America on a golf scholarship after completing their A-levels. They're halfway through as they get ready to head back stateside for year 3.
I had never been to America before. I got in touch with a recruiting agency and was able to speak to colleges over the phone. The first year was hard. I didn't play as well as I had been. Obviously, big transition moving across the world and everything like that. But I'm grateful for the experience of the first year because the second year was much better. I made the lineup for every tournament. I was able to travel.
Yeah, it was pretty similar. I had a recruiting agency. The coach was interested in me. I just felt as soon as I went there that it was the place for me. And yeah, I'm very grateful for making that decision because I've had the most amazing 2 years already.
Molly and Rebecca practice each morning and night with class taking place in the afternoon. While they've been making the most of the golf weather all summer, Molly and Rebecca are heading back to very different climates.
When I go back in the fall, it'll be about 30 degrees every day. And then when it hits November, December, January, it drops to about minus 30 degrees every day. So it's constant snow and I have to cover up every piece of skin.
In contrast, Rebecca enjoys the sunshine state of Florida all year round. The weather is why many of the world's top golfers live there, including Tiger Woods, whose son visited the campus recently.
We had a random practice day at our facility and there was a junior tournament on and Charlie Woods was there, and it's just like seeing a mini Tiger, all his mannerisms, and yeah.
16-year-old Charlie Woods is a name golf fans know in America, but Molly and Rebecca could be making a name for themselves in the future. And you can see an extended version of that piece over on our streaming platform ITVX. Now, There were encouraging signs for Michael O'Neill before he names his World Cup qualifying squad on Thursday. Brad Lyons and Josh McGuinness were on the score sheet for their clubs over the weekend. Defender Dan Ballard marked his Premier League debut on Sunderland's return to the top flight with this header in their 3-0 win over West Ham. And in the Championship, Isaac Price scored the opening goal for West Brom against Wrexham, then got the crucial third to secure a 3-2 victory. In Gaelic Games, Fermanagh are looking for a new senior football manager. That's after Kieran Donnelly met with county officials over the weekend and informed them of his decision to stand down. Donnelly had been at the helm since 2021. Ulster's women are still searching for a first win in the Interprovincial Championship. They had led at the break in Galway thanks to Siobhan Sheeran's converted try, but Connacht struck back with 2 tries of their own in the second period to secure a 12-7 victory. Finally, Carrick Rangers and Glentoran are the early pace setters in the Irish Premiership. They both have picked up 2 wins from 2 in the opening weekends. There are more matches tomorrow night. That's all your sport this evening. Bye for now.
The atmosphere is electric. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Now, Oasis fever hit Croke Park at the weekend with the Manchester music legends taking to the stage for 2 nights in front of thousands of fans.
It was the group's first appearance in Ireland since 2009 when they played at Slane Castle. The hotly anticipated gigs were part of the band's reunion tour, and one lucky Lurgan family managed to get tickets. Stuart Robson reports.
Welcomed back with open arms. Oasis might have been born out of Manchester, but the Gallagher's roots are on this island. A homecoming of sorts after so long away. Rolling back the years, hit after hit, this was a journey through a band's legacy that means so much to so many people. The songs rang inside Croke Park and outside it. Half the World Away was sung half a street away as the anthem rang out. Oasis is a daily part of the Thompsons' lives. Owen was nearly a year old when the band split, but their influence is all too clear.
Oasis has just been ingrained in me from a young age, and I just have pure love for them now. They're an amazing band, you know, don't think I could live in a world without them. It means everything to me, you know, it's, like I say, from a young age I've always said I want to see them, and back then I didn't think there was a chance, and just thought it was never going to get back together, you know. And when they did, it was just unbelievable, just shattered the whole world, you know.
United by a love for the band, mum, dad, brother and sister shared the moment together.
Pure goosebumps. Pure goosebumps. Even now, I'm like hard to believe after 16 years we were actually seeing them again. You know, when the countdown was coming and whenever the stage lit up, it was just, words can't describe it. It was so good.
It's the one band that's really kept the 4 of us close together, which is why the 4 of us said it was our chance to go together and just spend the day together, seeing the one band that the 4 of us have grew up together with. Yeah.
This was the first time Oasis had played in Ireland since June 2009. In fact, I was there at Slane Castle months before the infamous breakup. I may not have been at Croke Park, but I was able to recreate that moment at Wembley last month. New memories for me and thousands of other fans across the UK and Ireland that will live forever. Stuart Robson, UTV Live, Lurgan.
And we have some breaking news now. Larne manager Nathan Rooney has left the club by mutual consent. He was appointed as Tiernan Lynch's successor last November. First team coach Gary Havron will take interim charge while Larne searches for a new manager. Now, lots of us thought that it was a glorious weekend, but I'm not too sure if our farmers would agree with that.
Well, Louise has the weather forecast.
Bringing the warm sunshine outside, inside. UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
Hello there, good evening. We had plenty of fine, dry and warm sunny spells at the weekend. Temperatures reached 25 degrees Celsius yesterday. This week looks like another fine and dry, settled period of weather. Some bright and sunny spells at times. It will feel quite pleasant in the sunshine, but not quite as warm as it did at the weekend. But the winds will stay on the light side. Taking a look at the pressure sequence, high pressure dominates our weather this week. We do have a few weak frontal systems pushing through, but we shouldn't feel any impacts for them, with plenty of bright and sunny spells coming our way over the next couple of days. A few late spells of sunshine this evening. Clear skies developing overnight. However, as we move through the early hours towards dawn, some patchy cloud will start to bubble up across eastern areas. Temperatures holding up between 15 and 16 degrees Celsius. Another very warm night to come. Tomorrow gets off to a rather dull start, that patchy cloud lingering for a time across eastern areas. The best of the brightness across the west into the afternoon. Winds once again staying on the light side, coming from a northeasterly direction. Temperatures reaching highs of 21 degrees Celsius across the northwest. Slightly cooler across the southeast though, with that onshore flow, highs of just 18 degrees Celsius. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a largely dry and bright day. Across the southwest, some heavy thundery downpours are possible. Temperatures reaching highs of around 22 or 23 degrees Celsius with a light to moderate breeze. Looking ahead then, for the next couple of days, plenty of fine, dry and settled weather coming our way. A cooler night Wednesday into Thursday, feeling slightly fresher on Thursday, but staying dry as we head towards the weekend. That is the very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
You may remember on Friday we brought you the story about the remarkable runner Grace Chambers. Well, Grace made... Sorry, Rose.
It's all right. She actually, believe it or not, made history at the Ormeau Park run at the weekend.
Yes, the 97-year-old became the oldest person in Europe to complete the 250 park runs on Saturday. The achievement is all the more remarkable because she ran the 5K course just weeks after undergoing heart surgery, and there's no stopping her. Grace told UTV she's now aiming for 300 park runs. The amazing Grace there.
She's absolutely remarkable. That's the latest news this Monday, the 18th of August. Deborah McAleese will be back with a late bulletin at 11:15.
Yes, the ITV News continues now with Mary Nightingale, but from Rose, me and everyone here on the UTV News team, have a very good evening.
Good evening.